So to start with our diary comics, we're going to take a piece of scrap paper and we will just start by writing down some ideas that we can turn into a little short 4-panel comic about our day. I'm going to write the word ideas in the center of it, and then I'm just going to write down some stuff that happened to me yesterday, and we're going to mine that for inspiration for our comic. Yesterday was a very warm day. That's what my diary comic is going to be about. Obviously your ideas are going to be different. Your comics can be about today, yesterday, last week, last month, last year. They can be funny, they can be sad. But the key thing is that they derive from our lives and things that happen to us. But once we've got a little pool of things here, we can start to look at breaking them up into 4 panels. Think of a little story that we can tell, and we'll start planning that out so we can make our comics. So we've got our ideas there, and those are going to form the basis of our stories. We can go into those ideas, figure out which ones we like, which ones we don't like, and we'll use those to generate the content of our comics. So the next step then is to take another sheet of scrap paper and just divide it up into 4, really rough. Use a pen for this. We just want to split it into 4, and this is our layout. And this is basically going to be like a script if we were making a film, or an outline if we were writing a book. We're just going to do a real rough version of our comic on this piece of paper in pencil, with stick figures and little scribbled notes, and they really help us plot out our comic and get everything in place before we start drawing. Everybody's stories are going to be different based on their ideas and the stuff they're interested in writing about, but here are some tools that might help you write yours. So comics are essentially just words and pictures. The pictures are sort of self-explanatory, but the words, there's a lot of different ways we can use words in comics. We've got speech bubbles, which tell us what a character's saying. We've got thought bubbles, which tell us what a character's thinking. And we've got captions, which are like a narrator in a novel. So those are our 3 main tools for text in comics. You also want to be aware that when you're writing out a panel, you want the reader to be reading the stuff in the order that you intended. So if we've got 2 characters talking to each other, we want to make sure that the first character says is the first thing you read when you're reading the page from left to right. And those are your tools, basically text-wise, for your comics. Now, if you are struggling with your stories and you're trying to think of a way to get your ideas into a comic format, a quick tip is to just make captions at the top of your panels and just put some times down. They can almost be arbitrary, and you can base your story around events that happened as they occurred. You don't have to think too much about structure then. Again, we're not trying to make masterpieces with every diary comic. The main point is to just express something that happened to you in a fun and creative way. So don't labor too much over the writing, just try and get stuff down that feels interesting to you and that you want to represent in comics. What we're going to do with our layout is we're going to take a pencil and an eraser, and we're just going to start populating these panels with stick figures and bits of text so we can plan out and rough out our comics before we start drawing them. So you want to write down any dialogue and any text that you want to use in your comic. You want to put stick figures to represent the people you want to show in your comic. And you don't want to worry about making these look great or making them look like a finished product. The main thing is just to be able to read them yourself and use them as a blueprint going forward. So what we don't want is to be sort of doing our actual drawing and not exactly knowing where the comic's headed. So I've got my layout down to a place where I'm happy with it and I'm ready to start drawing. Feel free to revise yours, take an eraser to it and fix it up and stuff until you're really happy with the story and it's something you want to draw. We'll start the drawing next lesson, and I'll see you then.